I was born on the 7th of January 1925 in Berlin. When Hitler came into power, my mother joined the Quakers, and my older sister, 4 years older than me, and I went to the Quaker meetings on Sunday, and my father joined the liberal synagogue, so on Saturday the whole family went to the liberal synagogue. Father wanted to take my older sister out to see it because he said, you should see what went on. She refused. And I was more lively, so I offered myself to go with my father. There were groups of Nazis who attacked all the Jewish shops in Berlin, and we watched them abusing the shop owners and setting fire to their shops. I was very frightened, and I felt that they would be going for me. After Kristallnacht, father was picked up by a Nazi on his way to work, and he disappeared for 6 weeks. One day, he suddenly turned up home again. They released him because he was a cavalry officer in the First World War and had an Iron Cross First Class fighting for the Germans. After the Kristallnacht, they decided that it was not safe for us children to be in Berlin. The Quakers organized the Kindertransport in which I came. My parents put me on the train and said, we'll see you sometimes, work hard. And it was a train which took us to Hamburg. From Hamburg, we were all put on the Europa, which is a large German boat. I remember the White Cliffs of Dover. I'd never seen anything like this at all. So we got to Dover, and we then were put in a train, and all of us went to Liverpool Street Station. I was supposed to go to Bristol, but there were 3 cases of scarlet fever on the boat, and we all had to go into quarantine. My foster family were waiting for me on the station. No Hella arrived. Great panic. They rang up my mother, and my mother said, yes, she has left. Well, it took the refugee committee, as there were over 1,000 children, 3 days to inform my foster parents. After 2 weeks, they had bought me another ticket, and I was given a little Czech girl, aged 5, who spoke no German, and I had to take her to Bristol. She cried all the way, and I remember sitting with my arm round this crying child, and it seemed a very long journey to Bristol. My foster parents, they were caring, but the mother was very jealous of her husband, who made a lot of fuss of me. So I wasn't happy in that family. But I was fortunate to be given 1 year's free education at Colston Girls' School, Bristol. The foster family were Baptists. I had to go to church 3 times on Sunday and twice in the week, which meant, as I knew little English at that time, it affected my study. Every month, the refugee committee chairman invited all the refugee children who were in Bristol to a Sunday tea. And she went right round the table and said, are you all right? Have you any problems? To each child. Well, I didn't want to complain right at the beginning, but when I found I could not study sufficiently, knowing I only had 1 year at Colston School, I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm having to go to church so frequently, I cannot study where I am. Oh, she said, I must move you. I said, I don't really want to be moved because they saved my life bringing me from Germany. Oh, no, I must move you. And I went to foster parents in Cottam, which meant I could walk to Goldstone School. They were looking for him again. He fled to Poland, but that part of Poland was near the German border, and it was invaded by the Nazi army within the first few days, and obviously he was caught. The Red Cross allowed letters, 25 words were allowed. This is a letter from my grandmother. Beide gesund, Kinderchen. We are both well. Children always stick together. 2, 3 exclamation marks. Don't worry about us. We are hoping to be able to emigrate. My mother always said, work hard, keep well, and keep in touch with your older sister. I didn't tell her about my difficult foster parents. She would have worried. Then I had one letter saying that she would have to go to the synagogue, who had a complete list of all Jews in Berlin. She had to report there, and then she would be sent to Riga, to a concentration camp, and she wished us goodbye. My grandmother was being sent to an extermination camp in Poland.
They didn't know they were going to be...
Oh, yes.
They did?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, they knew. Through the British Refugee Committee, I found out much later the fate of my mother. She had been shot in Riga with many other Jews, and all the bodies were left in the wood to rot. My grandmother was sent to Terezin and then taken to Treblinka to be gassed. That was her fate, and that was the routine, what was happening for elderly Jews. I finished at Colston Girls' School, and at that age you had to leave at 16, so I was 16 and a half. And I was given a month's notice by the Refugee Committee to find a job. My first job was addressing envelopes. I was living in a bedsitter on my own, sometimes hungry because I had to manage on my own, no more money from the Refugee Committee. That was the toughest time. Bristol was a protected area, so all enemy aliens, and that is what we were, had to report to the Bridewell police station every week. And one day the commandant at Bridewell called me in and said, Hella, you're an enemy alien, you're over 16, and this is a protected area because, of course, Filton was building planes in those days. And you either go to the Isle of Man or you go into nursing. We're very short of nurses. So I said, well, I'll try and go into nursing, obviously. I applied to the BRI, who said, no, we take no Germans. I went to the matron at Southmead. Well, she said, I can't just take you like an ordinary English girl. You have to go before the committee. And they said, right, you're the first non-British student nurse. We will accept you. And then the matron said to me, and if you don't do well, you will have to leave. Well, I was a medal winner. The International Club was very thriving during the war. I had met Ray there. He was on the committee. He was English, and he helped to run the club. And then I would go off and train in Birmingham, and then I would come back to Bristol and have another job, go back to the International Club. Ray was still there. And then one day he asked me. My mother-in-law had just one son, Ray, and didn't like Germans. And by this time we had 2 children, Jane and Richard, and she would say, I don't like them, they're half German. And she would sit there at the Christmas dinner and not talk to them. But it's hunted me all my life. When I moved to this place, one of the men who had fought against the German looked at me in a sitting room full of people. We don't want Germans here. So it has followed me throughout my life, and I think it will.